Today's task is going to be trying to dress the west side of the shop building up. I finished backfilling the water line yesterday. They poured the footing, and then I kind of got that ditch cut and regraded, and I had to do a little touching up over there. But for now, I'm going to try to concentrate because they're not here working on the forms of the driveway today. I'm going to move that lumber. I kind of got a high spot. I'm going to cut that and take a little bit of it back up there, and then try to get more of a kind of a, I don't know, a gentle slope or whatever, and even cut some of this down so we can actually put some dirt on there instead of all this clay junk. But I've kind of figured out with this job site, because there's so much to do and going on, and they want everything just cleaned up, I just kind of try to pick a section each day if I can and concentrate on that. I mean, I am knocking a lot of stuff off the list. We're supposed to actually have a pretty good shot at rain this afternoon and tonight, so if that's the case, I'm gonna come back tomorrow if it's not raining, or if it's, you know, even just wet, and work on, I'm gonna start hauling in some 1-inch base rock and trying to kind of dress this up a little bit and get this 3-inch covered up, make it a little smoother on the vehicles. And I also want to build this section of the driveway up because it was kind of a low point, and he was having water pond in there, so he's got enough fall on the sides of the building and everywhere else. If I build this driveway up and slope it on out, some of the water should run down that side of the house, and then the rest of it will find the ditch. So I can work on doing that, and I'm supposed to smooth out and regrade the entire driveway and kind of get that back. It's finally got a good solid base. It's just extremely rough, so I need to start kind of grading there and then top coat everything in 1 inch. So if it does rain, like I said, I can still come over here tomorrow and work on that. So what we're going to work on for now, so we'll jump in the loader, grab the forks, move the lumber, and I'll probably take the 2150 and just kind of rake some of that rocky clay junk, and then we'll get the loader in there and kind of do our slicking up. So let's get to it. Well, I kind of got that raked in, roughed in, loosened up, whatever you want to call it. So this stuff, just with this rock and junk in there, it's easier to take the excavator, kind of loosen it up, and then we'll jump in the loader and try to dress it out a little bit and pack it in and grade it out. I'm probably going to try to carry it kind of on around that corner, and then we may just have to take it down a little bit more and put some dirt on top of here. And I'm actually going to try, I think this will be the third time, I'm gonna try to make kind of a, I don't know, like a tutorial, or I guess an instructional video, at least on how I grade with my loader. I get a lot of comments on that. I've tried a couple of times. I just didn't like how it comes out, because part of it is I don't feel like I explain it very well. So I'm not even explaining it very well right now. So I just need to try to take my time maybe and explain it a little bit better. Like I said, I don't do a real good job of kind of explaining either how to run one, how I grade with one, or kind of what I do. So I'll just try to go over all that and best detail, I guess, as I can. And I don't know why I have such a hard time explaining it. I think it's most of it's just kind of muscle memory or something. Like So my wife comes and helps me. She asked me what does the left joystick do when I move to the right, and I actually have to like go through the motions in my head, so I can't just remember right off the top of my head what it does, which is weird because I run it every day. But I'll see if I can't make a little bit better video on how I do my grading, and we'll work on grading this out, and then I may even try like a pile of dirt on how I go about trying to spread that out. I get a lot of comments about how I kind of grade with one, or dress things up, or spread out a pile of either rock or dirt or whatever. So we'll try to go into that today and see if we can't make somewhat of a decent little video on that topic. And I guess part of it, we can start with the machine itself. And kind of one of the big reasons that I do like these Takeuchi machines is I run this machine and grade basically like you would on a dozer. It's all kind of feel by the seat of the machine, and then just sight. I don't ever use the float on this, and like I said, it's just more ran like a dozer. But that's one of the things I do like about Takeuchi is they are built like a dozer. This is where the tracks are on here. That is all just a one-piece frame, where like your cases, cats, bobcats, and all those other ones, they go down the assembly line, and half of them go one way and get wheels and tires put on, the other half get tracks bolted on. But these are just a one-piece frame whenever they're built, so they have a lot more characteristics to me like a dozer. They also do not have suspension, which is one thing that a lot of people don't like about them. They do ride a little rougher, but for me, I like that because I can feel the grade change in the ground if the machine goes up or down, versus I ran a couple of cats and they just drive me nuts because they got that suspension on the front idler. And the best way I can describe it is you're in like a boat. Like, you can't tell if you got a dip in the ground or if that's just the suspension working. So I have a really hard time running those machines and carrying the grade with me. So that's why I say I like these. As long as you kind of keep the rocks out of the way and you're not just flying back and forth, it won't ride as bad. Yes, I mean, they do ride rougher. I mean, there's no way around that. They do ride rougher than some of the other machines, but to me, especially with this one being as big and as heavy as it is, it's not as bad as some of those other ones. But like I said, the biggest thing is just keeping your pathway cleaned out, keeping the rocks, and not running over there. This one also has what they call true pilot controls. So on the joysticks, there's just little hydraulic lines that run down to the pilot pump, and then it goes to the various functions. So there's absolutely no hesitation. It is a very responsive machine, which is another thing a lot of people get in these and they don't like, because you barely bump that joystick and it either takes off, moves left and right, or the bucket goes up and down, where a lot of the newer ones now have electronic servos and such like that relay back to the hydraulic pump to start moving. So there is a bit of a hesitation. To me, there is. I mean, if you run a cat or a bobcat and stuff, every day, you probably don't even notice that, and you're probably going to hate when you get in here. But I'm just the opposite. I've ran this machine since 2012. So those ones with the electronic over hydraulic just drive me crazy, because they don't feel as quick and as responsive as what I'm used to in this machine. So a lot of it's what you're used to, but yeah. So with those two things, I like how responsive this is, and I like to be able to feel the variation in the ground on the tracks and such. So the thing that helps me out, that it's just one of those things you kind of develop over time, is you need to be able to kind of envision what you want the finished product to look like. So, and the best way I always try to talk about that is I try to pick like some lines or some kind of benchmark I'm going to go on. Like, basically, I want this fill dirt to be at the bottom of that 2x6. It's kind of my rough grade, but I want it to be a nice, gradual slope out to the road. So basically, I got, the side of the building is my one point and the driveway is my other point, and I want it to be nice and flat across there. So you just kind of got to be able to envision how you want that done. And I usually start up by the house, kind of get that grade established, and then just work my way out and just kind of keep carrying that. So that's something that'll probably just come over time or with experience. I've been running skid steers and track loaders since I was 14, so I'm 40 now, so for 26 years, which, I mean, you know, 14 to 18 or whatever, you're not you're not real efficient, you're just kind of learning. So, but I do have a lot of seat time, because like I said, this machine just hit 9,200 hours. I bought it with 900 hours, and my other skid steer that I bought, I think when I was 17 or 18, was a 1997 Case 1840, and I put almost 10,000 hours on that one. So I've got, I don't know, close to the 20,000 hour range between those two machines and various machines that I've rented and stuff. So I'm not saying I do everything right, but I do have a lot of seat time in one of them. So, but yeah, that's just, and then part of that's with my landscaping background. It's really helps to kind of envision what you're shooting for here, and then, like I said, just pick a point. And usually it's either the driveway or the building. Most of the time it's usually the houses or the buildings I try to start at and just work my way from there, because you kind of know you want that grade level all the way around, and you want everything to slope away from it. So kind of all these things together is what helps with the grading and, you know, the finished product and such. So this video is probably not going to be for everybody. If you don't like to hear me talk or a lot of talking, just skip the video or whatever I'd say, or mute it. But I'm trying to do this for a lot of the people that ask about tips on the grading and different things like that. So it's gonna be a little bit different video. Like I said, probably a lot more talking. I'll probably just try to do a lot of voiceover when I'm running the machine, and set you outside of there where you can actually see what it's doing instead of having to just listen to me the whole time. But yeah, we'll get in the machine, and like I said, I'll probably just start up here at this edge and kind of start working that out and seeing if we can't slick this thing up. I'm trying to just kind of get my line established along the edge of the building, or the footing there is usually what I kind of start with. Is what I was trying to demonstrate here. This is not the best material to be trying to grade out or anything like that, but I'm just trying to kind of slowly work that up there and get it to the rough grade or the height that I want it along the building, and then I'll just kind of work my way out. Like I said, it's some pretty junky stuff, but that's usually where I try to start. Like I said, I kind of get my line on there, and then you'll see me kind of work my way out. I just take kind of partial buckets, because I keep the one side on the grade that I've already got. Just trying to kind of mimic that and follow that on out there is what I'm working on there, and just kind of basically just trying to get this somewhat smooth, because you can see the machine bouncing around pretty good on some of those piles. So that's another big tip, is just trying to keep your pathway or your work areas kind of clean of rocks and stuff, so you can keep the tracks as flat as possible, because yeah, whatever those tracks or the angle of that is how that bucket's going to be. So if you're wanting to try to keep things flat, or, you know, cut or grade out one side or the other, you got to either add more material to one side or the other where you can keep that track. That's the biggest thing on trying to cut some of these slopes, is basically however those tracks are is how that bucket's going to be. So if you're, you know, you got stuff you're running over on the left track, and the far side of the bucket's going to be cutting down, and the other side's going to be kind of up out of there. So that kind of tells you can kind of feel, or when I say I feel, and, you know, kind of do it by sight and feel, that's what I'm talking about, is you can tell on the machine if the right side or the left side track is higher than the other, or if it's level or anything like that. And that's also true with going, you know, up and down, or if there's low spots or high spots. If the seat of the machine starts going down, you know that there's kind of a low spot or a hole in front of you, and vice versa. If you start feeling the seat go up, then you know you're got a high spot or something like that. So you can kind of tell from what that machine does, basically where the tracks run over. Kind of helps you to know if it's, you know, what the grade is like right there. So the one thing with grading, it can be a little tedious, because it looks like I'm just, you know, in the exact same spot, back and forth, but I'm just getting it to where I'm happy with it, and then I will just go from that area and just kind of start working my way out and just kind of cutting and grading. Like I said, with, I don't know, 3/4 of the bucket's usually a good way to go. You can kind of watch that outside tooth on the grade that you have and that you like, where you're not digging in or way above that, and then that's kind of tells you, it kind of gives you your line where you want to cut across there and keep that grade going. So It's definitely something that is just a lot of seat time, and it's not something people can usually pick up real quick. I mean, like I said, I've been running one of these for years, and I don't even think the first, I don't know, 3 or 4 years I was even that great at building yards and stuff like that. And I still learn on a lot of these. I mean, every job or every yard or pad or anything has all got its own kind of personality and stuff, that they're all going to be a little bit different, but you can just kind of use some of those basic maneuvers or something like that just to apply to what you're grading. But definitely grading is just one of those deals that it just takes a lot of seat time, so it can definitely be a little frustrating at first if you're wanting to jump in there and just get after it, or if, like I said, you watch some of these videos and it makes it look, people make it look like it's easier. Well, it's only easier because, like I said, I've got 20 some odd years of experience at it, so it just takes a lot of time. And really the best way I have learned is just get in the machine and go. I think that's one of the reasons I struggle with trying to make this video and explaining, because I'm one of those old school where you just learn by experience. So I guess that's why I have such a hard time trying to explain every little maneuver that I'm doing to teach other people how to grade. You really just need to get in there and get familiar with the machine and kind of learn what you can do with that machine and get comfortable with it. Hopefully that was somewhat kind of clear in what I was trying to get at. You can see kind of a few different angles here, what I was working at. Like I said, just it's a lot of back and forth and then tracking it down and then just kind of keeping that bucket flat or digging in when you need to. That's also another reason why I like using the tooth buckets on rough grading and finish grading. If you got a high spot or anything like that, it's a lot easier to cut and grade than trying to use like a smooth bucket, because then you get that whole wide edge that the machine is trying to cut in the whole thing, where like with the teeth it's kind of nice because you can kind of just cut in a little bit more, loosen it up, and then pull it back and then grade it some more. So that's why you see me using one of those. My Case 1840 that I started out with had a smooth bucket on it for maybe, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, and I got a tooth bucket on there. So yeah, for 20 some odd years, I've basically just used a tooth bucket for all my grading. So I have really, I can see the benefit of a smooth bucket basically when I'm doing like rock work, I guess, like up in the corners of parking lots. But I've been able to do all my finish grade with the tooth bucket, and like I said, I actually enjoy it or like it better because even some of our dirt around here, it has a lot of clay in it. So when you track it down, it can kind of get shiny. It'll be tough to grade it back out or anything like that. So you can just take those teeth, kind of loosen it up, and then makes things a little easier to grade. So yeah, hopefully that made a little bit of sense to everyone, what I was kind of saying. Like I said, it's one of those, I feel like I almost show you guys better on the grading than maybe trying to explain it. So, but I get a lot of, like I said, I get a lot of comments on making like a how-to grading video and stuff. So that's what I was trying to do here. So we'll just we'll let you get back to watching the video.